Hi there, parents with newborns. Today's video is for you. I'm going to talk about sleep strategies that help develop good sleep hygiene for your newborn. So to start off with, I do want to say that newborns are not equipped to sleep through the night right away. They're going to need to wake a few times during the night for the first few months to eat, to gain weight, and be healthy. But if you implement these strategies early on, they will help your baby sleep better, and eventually down the road, when they're bigger and ready, usually between the third and sixth month, they will be able to sleep through the night without eating and without your help. Newborns need a ton of sleep. It's what they do, and there's really good reasons for that. First off, neural pathways are connecting and organizing information into memory. There's also a lot of cellular repair going on that restores the immune system. So if you think about it, everything that the baby is experiencing and seeing during the day is brand new, and they're going to need a time to store and organize that information. But also, they're going to need to have a strong immune system to fight off all of those germs that they're, being exposed to at this point. So ensuring that your child is getting enough sleep is crucial for these things to happen. These strategies will teach your child how to sleep independently without your assistance, and that is such a great gift for you and your child. You can talk to a lot of your mom friends or tune into any forum that has a Q&A about babies, and you are bound to hear the statement, "My baby will only sleep if." And almost always that statement ends with referring to a child that uses some sort of prop to fall asleep. When children are learning to fall asleep, they often cling on to an external prop that helps them. It's like a crutch to fall asleep. Very common ones are breastfeeding or bottle feeding to sleep, and the child will only sleep if they are eating. Other very common props for newborns are motions, so rocking or bouncing them to sleep, pushing them in the stroller, using a carrier or a swing, and sometimes a pacifier can be a prop that helps them sleep. None of these things are bad or wrong. In fact, they're all really great tools that were invented and serve a great purpose from time to time. However, we do need to become aware that if we use them every time and they always lead to sleep, then they're probably going to become a prop dependency. So, what are some strategies we can use that do not rely on a prop to fall asleep? The first thing you can do is watch wake windows. Now, I do talk about this with older children as well, preschoolers and toddlers and older babies, and that's to prevent overtiredness, because once they've hit overtiredness, they're going to have a very difficult time falling asleep and staying asleep. A newborn can tolerate about 45 minutes of being awake before they're ready to sleep again, and that includes feeding. So if it takes them 25 minutes to eat, they really only have about 20 minutes to kick and look around before they're ready to sleep again. If they are becoming fussy and an hour has gone by, you may have missed that perfect window to lay them down, and now they're overtired. Still put them down because they need sleep, but it might be a little more difficult. The goal here is to lay your child down before they become overtired. You know you've reached the perfect window when you lay your child down and they're cooing, and about 5 minutes later, he's fast asleep. The next strategy to use is to follow the sleep, eat, play pattern, and that's on repeat all day long. So after baby wakes from a nap, feed him and then let him play until he's ready to sleep again. This really helps when determining the signs between fatigue and hunger. They look almost identical at this stage. Around 3 months, babies are a little older and have developed better hand-eye coordination. And at this point, they will rub their eyes or pull on their ears when they're tired. But before this, when they're still newborns, they're really not going to be able to show you that clearly. What they will do is they will become fussy, or they will arch their backs and twist their heads and kind of bury their face into your neck or chest, which looks identical to rooting and can be mistaken for hunger. Both of these clues could mean either thing, hunger or fatigue, and you should always feed a hungry baby. But how do you decipher between the two? Well, following this pattern will really help clear that up for you and let you get a better look at which one means which. So 45 minutes have passed and you fed your child upon waking, and they're starting to show one of these signs. They're most likely sleepy and not hungry at all. A lot of moms fall into that tricky situation with letting a baby snack for a few minutes and fall asleep while eating. And this is troublesome because they won't get a full feeding, and they probably won't sleep very long because they will be looking later, or they will be waking up a little soon from their naps to eat again. And it's really hard on mom, for those that are breastfeeding, to be feeding them every single 45 minutes or hour. So, doctors recommend feeding newborns every 2 to 3 hours, and following this cycle of eat, play, and sleep will help you know which one they are showing and what you need to do for fatigue or hunger. The third strategy is to lay your child down awake in their crib or bassinet. Now, I know this can be very difficult for many parents because they look so tiny and alone in the crib or bassinet, but as long as you're following safe sleep guidelines, this is really the best place for them to sleep. And then it's really as simple as that. Lay baby down awake and give him a few minutes to see if he can fall asleep on his own. If baby cries, go ahead, comfort him. Pick him up, walk him around the room, sing a little song, do some shushing, whatever it is you need to do to calm him down, but just for a few minutes, and then try again. Lay him down in the crib awake. You might have to do this a handful of times before he figures out how to drift off to sleep in bed. You got to be patient. He's learning just like you are. And I am aware that you're not always going to be around the house to get him down in the crib or the bassinet. That's okay. Life happens and you're going to be out and about sometimes, or things are going to come up. Give yourself the permission to be flexible and gentle with yourself. Sometimes your baby will fall asleep in the stroller or the car while you're running errands, or maybe in the carrier while you're trying to get something done around the house. Don't sweat this. It's going to happen. All you need to know is that if it happens for one nap, then try to make it a point for the next nap to give him the opportunity to fall asleep in the crib or the bassinet. We don't want these naps with motion to be all the time, the ones in the stroller, in the car, in the swing, because they can become a prop dependency if it's happening every time. Strategy number 4 is a bedtime routine. Pretty much everyone has one, including adults. So it might look something for you like brushing your teeth, washing your face, putting on your pajamas, reading in bed, and then when you're ready, laying pretty much in the same position every night before you drift off. This routine is predictable and it cues our brains that the transition into nighttime sleep is happening, which is very different and much longer than a nap during the day. So our sweet little babes will benefit from this routine just as much as you do. Bedtime for newborn is around 9 o'clock. It can be as early as 8 o'clock or late as 10 o'clock, and the routine should be very simple with just a few steps in the same order every single night. We're going for predictability here, and that's because we want something that a baby can pick up on the process to cue their brain that nighttime sleep is happening. I love suggesting that a bath be the very first step for a bedtime routine, and that's because it's so drastically different than anything else that happens throughout the day. I will warn you, most newborns don't like their first bath or their first few. It might take 5 times before they become comfortable, but most of them will grow to love it. Hang in there if yours is not loving it at the very beginning. You're also going to want to include one last feeding during this bedtime routine. This is important to fill the baby's belly so that he can go a longer stretch of sleep. Do your best to keep him awake. I know he's going to be pretty sleepy at this time, so you might need to tickle him a little bit to keep him awake during the full feeding. Or maybe not put his pajamas on until you're done feeding him. A lot of times when they're warm and cozy in their jammies, the milk will just lure them to sleep. So keeping them a little cooler can help keep them awake. And finally, our last strategy is how do you handle the wake-ups? I say wait to respond for just a few minutes. Here's why. Everybody goes through sleep cycles throughout the night. Adults go through them, and we come to the surface of sleep when we're changing from one sleep cycle to the next. Usually, we're able to just roll over and fall back to sleep and have a very vague or no memory of that wake up in the morning at all. So when a child does that, you're going to want to wait just a few minutes. See if he can get himself back to sleep into the next sleep cycle. And if that doesn't happen, after a few minutes and it's loud and clear he's up, then it's time to feed him. I do suggest starting with a diaper change before feeding him. This delays that instant gratification of, I eat as soon as I wake up during the night. So then keep your baby awake for that full feeding like we talked about before. You might need to do another diaper change afterwards, which is fine, no big deal. Your goal here is to lay baby back in bed awake so he can drift off independently again. Make sure you keep those lights off or very dim when you're doing these feedings and changings. I do suggest no screens like computers or TVs or phones because that blue light can really affect the melatonin levels, which will make it hard for your child to fall back asleep and for yourself to fall back asleep, and you need the sleep too. Following all of these tips will lead baby to making great stretches of sleep. And for a lot of parents that start on day one, they will often say that around 10 to 12 weeks, their baby is sleeping about 10 hours in the night. They might still be waking up for a nighttime feeding, but know how to fall back asleep right away afterwards. It sets them up for success. Newborns that fall asleep on their own will often make these stretches go longer and longer, all on their own without any help on your part. In fact, many will drop those feedings by themselves because they are independent sleepers and have learned how to fall asleep and to decipher if they're tired or actually hungry. As always, I'm here to answer your questions and create customized sleep plans with support for you if you'd like. You can reach me at gmssleep@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.